Hi, I'm Troy, and today I'm going to show you how to properly shoot slow motion footage. So today I wanted to give you a few quick tips to get you started shooting slow motion. And this has less to do with what you're shooting, more what settings you need to shoot it. The first thing we'll talk about is frame rate. Anytime you're planning to slow your footage down, you need to shoot it at a higher frame rate than what your sequence is in. So I like to shoot my videos at 24 frames per second, which is the cinematic frame rate. So if I want to do a slow motion sequence and I shoot it at 60 frames per second, this will allow me to slow that footage down to 40% of its original speed and still have a unique image for each of those 24 frames. So the math on this is really simple. You take your sequence frame rate, which in my case was 24, you take your slow motion footage, the frame rate that was shot at, in my case it was 60 frames per second, and you divide those. And in this case you'd get 0.40, which translates to 40%. And you can do the same thing with whatever frame rate you're using. The reason that that's so important is because of the fact that if you were shooting a different sequence frame rate, for instance, if your sequence was at 30 frames per second and your slow motion was shot at 60 frames, then you'd only be able to take it down to 50% of its speed rather than 40%. So what happens if you don't record at a higher frame rate? Well, simply put, what it will do is it will start to duplicate frames to fill in those gaps. For instance, if my video was 24 frames per second and the footage I wanted to slow down was also 24 frames, if I brought it down to 50%, I'm actually going to see those clips doubling up each time. And what this will do is it'll make it look a lot more like it's 12 frames per second instead of 24. Which will actually give it a very glitchy kind of look. It looks almost identical to what stop motion looks like, because stop motion is actually shot at 12 frames per second. Keep in mind that's fine if that's the look you're going for. There's plenty of music videos or TV shows where they've done that, where it gives it that kind of glitchy stop motion look intentionally. However, if you're looking for that nice slow motion kind of B-roll type shots, you're going to want to shoot at a higher frame rate. And one last thing to keep in mind that's very important is going to be your shutter speed along with your frame rate. This isn't just for slow motion, this is anytime you're shooting video at all. So for instance, if you are shooting at 24 frames per second, you want your shutter speed to be twice that, which the closest setting is 50. And this will always apply. If you're shooting at 30 frames per second, you want it to be 60. If you're shooting at 120, it's going to be 240, so on and so forth. So it's always double whatever your frame rate is. Alright, and that's it. So get out there and get shooting. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and to see more content coming up, hit subscribe. Thanks.